Okay, hi, my name is Maddie Heimlich, and today I'll be presenting the day 5 part of our unit plan. This is a first grade phonemic awareness lesson. It's day 5. Will take about 50 minutes, and it deals with manipulating sounds orally. Um, the objectives for this lesson revolve around students will visually receive more information about phonemes and learn to connect sounds to manipulatives, and then students will then take on the role of actually being a sound and move into into the Alconum box at the appropriate time. And then students will then be able to identify the location of a changing phoneme, integrate a new sound, and then determine the new word based on that manipulated sound. So these objectives are based on two standards. One is RF.1.2c, and 1.2 is to demonstrate understanding of spoken words, syllables, and phonemes. And 1.2c is to be able to isolate and pronounce initial, medial vowel, and final phonemes in spoken single syllable words. And then RF 1.2d is to segment spoken single syllable words into their complete sequence of individual phonemes. Um, so the first thing I'll do for the intro is I'll have this Elkonin box drawn up on the whiteboard, and then these will be like laminated different colored circles, and they be either magnetic or like taped to the board. So students get a good visual and involves like other kinesthetic opportunities for them. So we'll all be sitting on the carpet, and I'll have this drawn up on the board, and I'll ask them, what if I told you that these circles all represented different sounds? And what do you think these boxes have to do with sounds? And I'll listen to their responses, and I'll either draw the line if they're way off track of where I want the lesson to go, or prompt them more if they're having good ideas about these. Each talk about different like sounds and the letters. This will take about 1 minute. It's just a quick introduction and brief discussion period before we start the first activity. So my next activity, this will still be up on the board, but instead I'll get out like this little notebook, and this is just a list of all the pictures that will be in the notebook. So each page will have a picture on it, and then I'll flip through it as we go through each picture. So for the first picture, I will say the word, and then I'll say, like, for example, sun. So then I will move each manipulative up into the boxes, and the first two words for sun and then the word be, I will demonstrate that. And then the third word through the sixth word, I'll have different students come up to the board and practice it. So I'll say it, I'll have the class say it, and then the student will come up and say each sound like as they practice moving the manipulative up into the Alconin box. And then, so that's just kind of reviewing how to segment different sounds, and then to practice start introducing the manipulating technique, I'll ask them in the word sun, what if I change the s to an f, and then what new word would we have? And students would answer. And then I would do like two other questions. What if we change the n to b in the word sun, and or b to change the e to u? So then we would transition to activity 2. So after going over this activity, I would try to excite students by saying, now you guys are going to become the sounds. So you guys are going to become these little circles or manipulatives. So just remind the students to stay seated on the carpet as we transition. So for this next activity, I will use like masking tape or some sort of tape to kind of make these Alconin boxes on the floor. And this is the word list of, it's hard to see, but the words we'll start off with and then what they'll transition to. So I'll have 4 students will be called up to the front of the room at a time. 3 students will be standing in front of each box, and then the 4th student will be standing off to the side, and I will say a word. So the first time, they'll just say the word normally. The second time, the whole class will say it, and they will articulate each sound. So if the word is pat, as the rest of the class is saying the different sounds, so p, at, each student will slide into the box. And then for the first couple words, I might tell the class, like, this student is the p sound, the students the ah and t sound just to get them familiar with that. And then as we learn to manipulate, I might ask them, what if we change the p to and then the fourth student that's standing off to the side will come in and switch places and ask the class what the new word is. So as we transition from, and we'll do about 6 rounds of that, just depending on how many students are in the class. So everyone gets a turn. And this activity will take about 15 to 20 minutes. So transitioning to activity 3, we will discuss the importance of letter sounds and just being able to hear them. So our next activity will be phoneme bingo. And so then I'll call off groups of students at a time to head back to their seats before passing out the bingo cards and materials. So students, these are just pictures of bingo cards, but teachers can make their own just depending on what words they want to use. So I'll read off a word, and depending on the word, if they're having trouble with it, I'll demonstrate the word on the board using the manipulatives and Alcona boxes that are still on the whiteboard. And then I'll ask them, what if I change this sound to this sound? And then have a student call on a student to answer. And if that student has that new picture of that word on their bingo card, they'll place a little chip on it, and whoever is first to get a bingo wins. And this will take about 15 to 20 minutes as well. So that's just a fun game to kind of practice what we just learned, more kinesthetic and just visual activities. So, or auditory. So to close this activity, to kind of have a little assessment of what to practice with more, I'll give students a sheet of paper, and it won't have the X's on it to begin with, but it'll have 3 little groups of Alcona boxes on it, and then I'll present the whole class with 3 words, an original word, and then tell them a new word. So I'll say, if I change bad to sad, what sound was changed, the beginning, middle, or end? So if bad to sad, the first sound is changed, so they would put an X in that first box, and then I do 2 more examples and collect the sheets at the end. And this should take about 5 minutes, and that would end our lesson. So